porque te has marchado. A lo mejor de plano y yo no era el indicado. Se fue la posibilidad de estar siempre a tu lado. Welcome back to the podcast, folks. It's a good day. Sunday. Well, that means it's laundry day, which sucks. But got 2 loads in there. The darks are about to come out. I'm about to fold them with absolute perfection. Which reminds me of today's topic, perfectionism and overthinking. I have a lot of things to say about this topic. Honestly, it's another one of those that, gosh, perhaps I might overthink. And I'm okay with that because my whole life has kind of consisted of overthinking and this idea of perfectionism. And I've come to fall in love with these ideas, which I've mentioned plenty of times before. And I think the world has kind of a skewed view on what it is to be a perfectionist because it's a demonized thing. And everybody knows that you can't actually reach perfection. But what happens when you try to reach perfection and manage the emotions around it in a healthy way? You get a lot closer to perfect than people who don't really care. And it's not to say that people who are kind of by the seat of their pants can't have a great life too, but a lot of people feel that they are a perfectionist or they overthink and that they're stuck with it and it's a bad thing. So I want to talk through all kinds of different ideas surrounding these topics, what it might look like, what it looked like for me, how you can think about it, how you can kind of organize it in your mind and maybe see it as the superpower that it really is. So got some notes here. First thing I want to talk about is my personal experience with the overthinking. Oh my God, terrible. Not really though, because where this perfectionism came from for me was learning skills growing up. I mean, if you had talked to me when I was in middle school, for example, and you say, hey, what do you like to do? My answer would have been, I like to learn as many things as I possibly can. I want to be good at everything. So back in the day, my big focus was kind of the parkour, free running, tumbling, gymnastics, handstands kind of stuff. And I just absolutely loved it. I would buy crash mats and build pull-up bars and do flips off of stuff. I mean, that's what consumed my time. And I remember just this feeling of wanting to be so good at something. And if I decided, okay, I'm going to learn how to do X, a backflip, or I'm going to learn how to do a handstand or wheelie on my bike, whatever it was, I mean, that became my life. Like you wouldn't imagine. I would have these conversations with myself. I'd see people at school. And maybe I would explain, oh, I'm trying to learn a wheelie. And they'd say, oh, that's cool. And in my mind, for whatever reason, I'd go, no, you have no idea how much I care about this. I would just preach to myself how much I care about the thing that I'm trying to learn. So I say this to explain how deep I was in this idea of, I don't know, giving a shit, to put it simply, about the things that I was trying to learn. So I was obsessed over getting these things down. I remember, I think it was around maybe late middle school, early high school years. I think I was 14, 15. So I guess that would be beginning of high school. My friend and I, we decided, okay, our thing is learning new skills. How about for the next month, we each individually learn a new skill without telling each other what it is, and then at the end of the month, we come back and present our new skill. So at this time, good old Karate Kid, not the old one, the newer one, the 2010 one with Jaden Smith. I'm gonna be honest, that one's better. I'm not gonna virtue signal to say the older one's better. The newer one is better. It's freaking sweet. The concept is insane. Both are amazing movies. Well, there's 3 of the old one, but I like the newer one. Just putting that out there. Now, as a huge fan of the movie, somewhere in there, he learns the middle splits and he holds it between 2 bars, and it's part of this dope-ass cinematic training scene. And I knew, okay, that's got to be my skill, right? Because who doesn't want to frickin' Karate Kid middle split between two chairs. Come on. So I spent the next few weeks watching every single YouTube video on the planet. Of course, that's my approach with anything. If I'm going to learn something, YouTube University. And I just obsessed over stretching. I mean, at least an hour a day, just intense stretching. And I was trying to figure out ways to track my progress, and it consumed me. Middle splits, as ridiculous as it sounds, that was my universe for a while when I was 15 years old. And for a couple weeks, I was working on this, not telling my friend. And then at one point, we got back together hanging out one day, and we said, gosh, I wonder if we're doing the same thing. That would be crazy. And then we just gave all of these little clues that didn't give it away, but we could kind of both know. It turns out we were both training for the middle splits. That was kind of hilarious. But we would stack up movie cases. So we had a stack of DVDs, and I had maybe 15 of them. And so we would put it under our freaking ass, basically, and then go down in the split and see how few movie cases we could sit down on. So I remember hitting 10 movies, and that's how we would communicate our progress to each other. I'd say, dude, I got 10 movies. And then eventually down to 4 or 5 movies, and then eventually just hit the full split. But this was my approach with everything. And maybe my mom or other people that would witness me being so obsessed about learning something, back in those days, they probably saw kind of the downfall of it, where it consumed me to the point of it's all I think about. And when I don't have the skill, it's frustrating, and I can't just sit in the moment of, oh, I'm just getting better at this, seeing very, very minimal progress, but progress indeed. I didn't really have that emotional management back then, so would have been really helpful. Regarding the wheelies on a bicycle, one of my other friends back in this time period gave me a really cool lesson, or just told me a really cool lesson, and I actually hold on to it still today because it freaking works. I mean, it's a good place to land mentally. So I'd be doing these wheelies, I'd be practicing every day, not seeing any progress. And pardon me if I've already explained this, but I love this little story. And I was practicing and just getting so frustrated that I was seeing no improvements. And he told me, you should go out and practice your wheelies, but not even look to progress at all, and just find satisfaction in the time spent doing it. Because if you focus on that, that is going to allow you to actually complete the thing or get better at the thing, rather than seeing, oh, is there super tangible progress today? Oh, no? Okay, well, it's a failure. And I think it's such a general truth that most people's standard for what an improvement is way too high. Because if you exercise once, you're not really going to see a big difference. If you eat really healthy for one day, you're not really going to see a big difference. And often it's not enough of an emotional, I don't even know, an emotional uprise for people to keep doing that thing. And the same with bad behaviors too. Usually if you eat like shit for a day, it's not bad enough to say, oh, I shouldn't keep doing this. And so people stack these tiny little versions of bad behaviors or bad habits, and then eventually it turns into a mountain of shit. Or for the people that do stack the good habits over and over again and don't really get that huge form of satisfaction, right? Those people are going to have a mountain of success eventually, but on the scale of one day, it's very hard to see. So I think that's an incredible lesson. Now, in this same kind of time period of my obsessing over learning skills, I've talked about my experience with school and that being kind of an all-consuming thing for me in a really negative manner. And for whatever reason, I wanted to do well in school, even though I hated it more than anything. I mean, every day I would be cursing the freaking person who created school. But I wanted to do well, because if I was going to be there, I'm not going to be the kid that's getting F's in my classes when, I mean, we're in freaking middle school, high school. Give me a break. It's not that hard if you pay attention, if you care to do it. So I wanted to get straight A's. I damn near never missed a day of school. I think my senior year of high school, I didn't miss a single day, which that was the peak of my lack of respect for school, but I didn't miss a day. And I wanted to get the good grades. I wanted to complete every assignment. I just wanted that to be a nice standard of, you guessed it, perfection. And I remember very often my mom would have conversations with me about this school thing, and she would see the stress that I was having. And she would tell me, I wish that you would just get a C in all of your classes and just not give a shit and be happier. And to really think about the gift that kind of confidence really is, because that's what it is. My mom has always known how I am, who I am. She knows that I'm not just going to throw away important opportunities and be an idiot. And so she emphasized, hey, I wish that you would just prioritize being happy instead of prioritizing being perfect. And this again is a major gift. And I think if I can look back on anything that I am so grateful for, it's certain people that essentially raised me, granting me the confidence, granting me awareness, granting me intelligence by the way that they talk to me. Right? My grandfather is another person that always spoke to me like I could understand. And when you talk to someone like they understand, they eventually understand. When you treat someone like a smart individual, they become a smart individual. And again, this is such an incredible gift, because you hear the typical story of the parent being too hard on the kid about school, and then the kid grows up and resents the parents and hates everything and turns into a piece of shit. And I had the opposite experience. And it's so funny, because where did the perfectionism come from? If the people who raised me are telling me to, hey, chill out a little bit about the school thing, you don't have to be so perfect, but I'm the one that cares about being so perfect. Well, shoot, I don't know where the hell it comes from, because I don't know if that's an environment thing or if it's a nature thing. But I do know that that's something that I experienced, and so really just wanted to talk about that example, because I think it's so powerful to, again, grant other people the characteristics that you want them to have. My family never felt the need to tell me exactly who to be and how to be. They would rather see me be my own person and kind of give me the benefit of the doubt in a sense. And that's a really cool thing, especially for somebody that is such a perfectionist, right? Because if you tell somebody who overthinks and is a perfectionist, oh, well, don't worry about it. If you're listening to this right now and you have any tendencies of thinking about things too much, or you try and have everything be perfect, and you've heard someone tell you to stop worrying about it, I know your eyes are just rolling as far back into your head as possible, because that's the most ridiculous thing to hear. Don't worry about it. Oh, you think I'm worrying about it on purpose? Of course not. I just happen to care so much about the shit that I care about that I can't stop thinking about it. And this always brings me into this idea of kind of a meditative state where you're not trying to stop thinking about anything. You're just allowing yourself to think, and then accepting that that's the case, and having kind of a third person perspective, witnessing yourself thinking through that, rather than going, no, don't think about it, don't think about it. Because if I said, let me not think about my laptop. Oh, well, my laptop is the only thing I'm thinking about right now, because I've prompted myself to not think about it. But of course, I'm thinking about it. And there's a really cool example of this in the book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's one of the 2 books I've read in probably the past 25 years. I'm 24, by the way. And it talks about this idea of insomnia, people who can't fall asleep. And the guy who wrote the book, essentially, people have always told me I should read the book, and then after reading it, I totally understand why, because his whole philosophy is, oh, well, purpose is the biggest motivator for any kind of human behavior or achievement, etc. In the book, near the end, he's explaining how, with his patients, because he's a psychologist, he would prompt people with insomnia to not try and fall asleep if they can't fall asleep, but rather try and stay awake as long as they possibly can. And more often than not, that would lead to them actually being able to fall asleep, because it releases this pressure that they hold of, I have to fall asleep, and this anxiety that keeps building up. And rather allowing that to be the case, and instead doing the complete opposite. I'm going to try and stay up as long as I can. It releases the expectation, it releases the anxiety, which is the very thing keeping them awake. So it allows them to go to sleep. And I always thought that this was a really interesting concept, because this is how I approach a lot of people's thinking or behaviors, whether I'm working with them or whether I'm just trying to help somebody out. I always emphasize that someone's thinking is a superpower if they use it correctly. So again, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, the overthinking and perfectionism, because if you know what is actually going on in your mind, you know how to manage that, you have the awareness around it, then you can use it so much to your advantage. Because, God, when I look back at being 15 years old, I love the shit out of the fact that I would lock in on something for a month and then become awesome at it because I cared about it so much. Who doesn't want to get good at skills? Who doesn't want to achieve things fast? It is not a negative unless you let it go too far. And there are ways to not let it go too far, which, again, this example of giving yourself the space, releasing the anxiety, emphasizing that, hey, this might be a positive, that's what releases it. That's what keeps you from going too far. That's what allows you, again, to have the awareness around it and manage those kinds of emotions, enter that meditative state, etc. So I just love granting people some confidence in what they think is the thing holding them back, and then they realize, oh, I can actually use this to my advantage. So where does this overthinking come from? I mean, I kind of expressed that I don't really have a full conclusion on that, but I do know that in a lot of people's cases, it comes from external expectations. So again, the famous example of just the kid growing up and the parents have all of these harsh expectations. Oh, you need to do this. And what it is, it's a form of insecurity coming from the parent, because they don't think that their child can essentially take on their characteristics just by being an example. Maybe the parent isn't a good example, and so they feel the need to just tell their child exactly how to be. And anybody rational knows that if you're just telling someone to do something, that person's response is most likely going to be, screw you, because who wants to be told what to do? I don't want someone to tell me the kind of person to be. I want to see someone that I admire and find successful and then mirror their characteristics, not because they told me to do that, but because I see the benefit of being like them. So again, it's a form of insecurity. When a parent is a piece of shit and they want their kid to not be a piece of shit, they got to tell them 1,000 times over, oh, don't be like me. And then essentially stripping that child of any sense of confidence, any sense of self as an individual. Well, that's exactly what turns them into the piece of shit. And so, again, these harsh expectations, the parents that just are so hard on their kids, you better get straight A's and you better do this. I think that is one of the stupidest things you could do. Because why not let them learn, right? Why not let them see the deficit of getting the bad grades and then say, oh, well, actually, you are smart enough to be able to get good grades. I would encourage that. I can't control you, but I can show you why it's good to be somebody that tries hard at what they do. And if you're the kind of parent, if you're the kind of example that shows them why that's a benefit, then they'll probably latch on to it. So the harsh expectations are really interesting. And then again, for me, I didn't have those harsh external expectations, but a lot of it came from me. And God, I mean, if I could boil it down as simply as possible, I just wanted to be good at stuff. Literally, I just wanted so badly to be good at something. And you mix that with a little bit of impatience, and you have somebody that is freaking obsessed. Every day, it's all I could think about, all these little skills. Eventually, it went from just backflips and stuff to businesses. And now it's about, gosh, how can I make the biggest impact? But I still feel that same amplitude of giving a shit because that's just who I am, and I want it so bad. Often this idea of you don't want it bad enough comes up in kind of the discipline space, or, oh, you can't get to the gym every day, you can't keep your promises, you don't want it bad enough. And I actually think it's true, and it's not just kind of a David Goggins tough love kind of thing. It's just, if you ask yourself, what do I want more than anything? And you have that answer, and then you're not doing the things that it takes to get to that place, you just can't say that you want it that bad. Because I guarantee you that if you wanted to survive and keeping your promises was the way to do that, keeping your promises would be the easiest thing on the planet. Because your desire to get to this, not finish line, but to get to this outcome would be so overwhelming that you couldn't not do something about it, right? So all of these goals of mine that are kind of just always stirring around my brain, that I want them so bad that I couldn't possibly wake up in the morning and forget about it. I wake up and go, yep, here I am in the context of all of the shit that I care about wildly. So what the hell am I going to do? Forget about it and go screw off and sit on the couch all day? No chance. I want it so bad that I'm going to continue taking the steps to get to that point. And that's just how my thinking is. So again, if you want something, or you think you want something, but it's kind of coming from somebody else and that's why you want it, and then you can't really act on it, you just might not want it bad enough. And honestly, that's okay. In a lot of cases, that's totally fine. If you're pursuing a career that maybe your family pushed you into and you don't want it that bad, well, shoot, it's pretty understandable why you wouldn't really act on that as effectively as you could. Now, when it comes down to being healthy and just having a relationship with you and your own life that is a healthy one, I don't think that one is super fine to just let go, but that's kind of a whole other conversation. I think we can discern between stuff that's kind of pressure versus stuff that is literal survival, physical and emotional. Those things, not too great to let go of. So I think this brings me pretty specifically to this idea of survival, of course, which I always go back to. And again, I said physically and emotionally. I think we almost don't have to physically survive at all anymore. And so it puts us in this emotional survival mode, which is really weird because you could be not surviving emotionally, just sitting on the couch. You know, you wouldn't be able to watch a movie and the survival scene is running away from something in this big emotional inflammatory thing. You could just be sitting here like this, and you're dying inside. And that's kind of the silent killer that's really interesting. And modern society breeds this because there's zero emphasis on the physical survival, the physical responsibility that we have to move our bodies and exercise and eat well, all those great things. And so I think this is a big place that the overthinking comes from because let's say thousands of years ago, you're out in the woods and you see a tiger coming towards you. You go, oh shit, let me run away from this thing. You're not going to sit there and try and overcalculate and be perfect about your approach to running away from the tiger. You're going to stand your ass up and you're going to run away as fast as you possibly can. Now we have time for anything. Oh, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that stressful situation. I'm not looking forward to talking to that person. And then we have hours in the day to just sit there and think about it over and over and over and over again. We have all the room in the world to let ideas just stir around in our brains, and we don't get the ability to organize it, see it on paper, like you might thousands of years ago, where the tiger chasing you down is pretty clear on paper. Let me get away. Oh, I'm dying. Let me find food. Let me preserve my body. It was very, very clear. So now we have a pretty sophisticated responsibility these days to recognize that, oh, I don't have to do anything, quote unquote, but I actually do have to treat myself well. I do have to exercise every day so I can bring my mind back to kind of a base level. Because if you're not moving your body, if you're not going into stress and then back down and having these natural cycles that essentially make our emotional state standardized, then you're going to be in that emotional lack of survival, and that's a scary place to be. So with that, I have a few things I want to talk about of just ways to, I don't know, remedy the overthinking or perfectionism, which, again, I'm sure you can already kind of assume my approach to this, but there doesn't even need to really be a remedy. It's just a change in perspective. So the overthinking is normal if you care about stuff. So stop trying to demonize these characteristics. Rather work on entering this meditative state of seeing that you're overthinking, feeling the overwhelm from it, and then taking a step back and going, okay, I'm overthinking. I don't need to tell myself to stop. I don't need to judge myself for doing this. I don't need to see this as problematic. I just need to recognize that I am doing it. So if you're sitting there and you have a million thoughts flying through your mind, all you need to do is sit back and go, okay, there's me thinking 1,000,000 miles an hour. Okay, cool. Okay. And then they come flooding right back in. And the ideas start flying 1,000,000 miles an hour. Oh, there it is again. Okay, cool. Sweet. Got it. And if you can manage your emotions like that, you're going to see that, okay, when I'm trying to learn something, when I'm trying to achieve something, this overthinking, this perfectionism is going to be great because I'm going to be a really effective achiever. Cool. And then when it's not useful and I'm overthinking things that aren't important and I'm trying to be perfectionist about things that aren't really that important and don't need to be perfect, well, now I know how to manage those emotions because I can just witness them as a third person. I'm not going to let the overthinking define who I am as a person. I'm just going to watch it happen. You're allowing it. You're leaving the space. You're not holding the expectations to run away from it because it'll chase you down. Give it the space. You'll find the clarity as long as you let that diffuse naturally instead of by force. It's amazing what happens. Now, more so on the idea of perfectionism. You know you're not going to be perfect. You simply know you're not going to actually reach perfect. So something that I would suggest, let's say that you're a neat freak like myself. I don't know if you can see the space that I'm in here in my room, but I keep it pretty damn sterile. And I like my bed to be made perfect. My hangers that I'm looking at right now are spaced out perfectly. All the clothes in the dresser over there are folded perfectly. And that's just how I am. I've always loved the aesthetic of things being nice and neat. However, I know that can go too far. I know that for some people that can turn into washing your hands 100 times before you leave the bathroom and switching the light on and off 100 times because if you don't, then, oh, mom's going to die. Or, oh, I'm going to get in a car accident if I don't roll the window up and down 15 times. That's That's a hard thing to deal with right there. That is true OCD. And OCD is not just being neat, like people want to virtue signal that they have some sort of thing. It actually turns into a real thing. So I know it can go too far. So what do? I purposefully leave things imperfect. And I've had to do this for a very long time. And if I see something that is not perfectly neat and square in my room, do I want to go over and shift it? Of course I do. Do I do that plenty of times? Of course I do. However, on purpose, plenty of times I will leave something because I go, yeah, this doesn't actually hold importance, and I shouldn't let it hold that much weight in my mind. So again, is it about demonizing the fact that I like my shit to be nice and neat? Absolutely not. I think it's great. I know where everything is in my room. I like the aesthetic. I like how it feels. There's no overwhelm. I'm definitely a minimalist. And I know that if it goes too far, I know how to manage these emotions. I know how to manage the thinking so that it doesn't get out of hand and become destructive. So leaving things imperfect on purpose, again, opens that room that I was explaining before. Now, the external opinions that you're going to receive with the way that you live and your overthinking and your perfect nature. People are going to tell you to relax. Don't worry about it. Relax. Oh, it's not that important. Whatever. Many things may be true. If you are hearing advice from somebody, please hear this clearly. You have to assess whether you would want to be like them if you're going to take on their advice. I don't care who it is. I don't care how much authority a certain person has over you. If your teacher, your boss, or whoever the hell else is telling you to do something, to live a certain way, to be a certain kind of person, if you don't respect who they are, if you don't want their life, if you don't want their outcomes, you don't have to listen to them. Now, this isn't in a, go to school and then make a scene in class and don't listen to your teacher and just be socially inept. It's not about that. But when somebody is telling you how to live, you must assess if you want their outcomes or not, because they're teaching you how to get their outcomes. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't want my outcomes that are connected to the advice that I'm giving you, literally do not listen, because you are your own person. Just because I'm sitting here in front of a camera with a microphone and I got the lighting and I got the notes and I'm speaking fast and I got some conviction behind what I want to say, does that mean you have to listen to me? Does that mean I have any power over you? Does that mean I have any authority over you? Absolutely not. I'm just a person that has found desirable outcomes, in my opinion, through the ways that I live and think, and I'm just presenting that as something that you could latch onto. Absolutely don't have to. So if somebody is telling you you have to be a certain way, screw them. So with that, I want to end things off going through my ending notes. If you're watching the pod on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment what you thought. Love hearing your comments, love to interact with you guys. I'm sitting here in front of the camera with the microphone by myself, so adding a little bit of dialogue to the monologue feels really good. If you're listening on Spotify, give the podcast 5 stars. I'd appreciate the hell out of it. And comment as well. You can comment on Spotify. Love to see what you guys think, of course. Now, regarding these bigger topics, I can only cover so much in these podcast episodes, but if the overthinking and the perfectionism or any part of your lifestyle, building purpose, self-awareness is something that you are struggling with and you want extra help, I do have a couple spots open at the time of recording this podcast. Don't know what will be the case when you're listening to this podcast, but I do have a couple spots open for my one-on-one mentorship that you can apply for at the link in the description or show notes of the episode. This is what I do for a living. I help people overcome their mental battles and the lifestyles that come along with those. And I am so fulfilled that that is what I get to do. So if that's something that you would like extra guidance with and you trust my guidance and opinions, definitely apply for that at the links below. Other than that, my newsletter. This is a great way to save and share my messages, not in video form, something that you can read or refer to, send to your friends, your family. I send out 2 newsletters a week, so you can subscribe to that or sign up for that, whatever the hell, for free. Totally free. Just a resource that I like to put out there for some extra value. If you're sick of hearing my damn voice and you just want to read some words on, not paper, but your phone. Last but not least, of course, no phone dinner. If you're listening to this episode, if you're looking at my face, whatever, don't use your phone when you're eating dinner tonight. That would be a crime in my rule book. Sit with your family, sit with your friends, sit with yourself. All incredible options, but just don't use your phone while you're eating dinner tonight. Or if you're already eating dinner and you're listening to this episode while you're doing so, I mean, I can't say it's the worst thing in the world, but I would love for you to spend some time off of the device. So do it tomorrow if that's the case for you right now. Give yourself the time to be in the present moment. God, someone's just mowing the lawn or something very loud outside. Perfect timing. Great. But hey, enjoy the present moment. Listen to the noises around you. Look at the wall. Or share some time with the people that you love. Anything but being on your phone while you're eating dinner. With that, you guys are the best. I had so much fun recording this episode. I can't wait for you to hear the next one, because that one's going to come next week. I hope you have an absolutely incredible day. And I'll see you later. Peace. No, you don't call anymore. I sit and wait in vain.